Welcome all of you guests and members. For the meeting this evening, only our board members may participate in discussions and votes unless you're recognized by the chair. Commissioner Hardesty will be here in a few minutes, and we want to give her time to address us and to take a few questions. So to review the rules of the road for the evening, ask you to please all be courteous to each other and be patient while we're still adjusting to our Zoom technology. If you want to be recognized, please raise your blue hand, and you will have a minute or two to comment on a subject if you choose to do so. The chair makes the rulings about the conduct of the meeting, and I ask you to please be respectful of the chair and of each other. If you talk over the chair or if you talk over other members, you'll get one warning that doing that is disruptive, and if there's a second warning, you'll be removed from the meeting. Janet, could you please call the roll of who's present?
Hi, Steve, I will.
Oh, sorry.
Steve Molinex.
Sorry, let me add that for each of you, as the roll is called, please answer with your name and what neighborhood you're from. So great. I'm here, I'm from Bridle Mile neighborhood.
Great. Sam Pearson.
South Burlingame neighborhood, and I am here.
Teddy O.
I'm here.
Great. And your neighborhood? I guess
I'm from far southwest, but I'm treasurer.
Great. Thanks. I'm Janet Hawkins. I'm secretary. I'm from Hayhurst. And Katie Daly.
Hi, I am from the Arnold Creek Neighborhood Association.
Great. And is Bruce Kester with us yet? No, Bruce. I'll come back to Bruce if he's not with us. Bridle Mile. We have Richard Freimark. Is Richard here? Okay, we'll come back. Fran, let's see, Fran Laird. Is Fran on the call? No Fran yet. Okay. George Franos. Oh, excuse me, Tony Hansen.
Yep, I'm here. Crestwood neighborhood.
Great, thank you. George Franos.
He's having trouble getting in.
Okay.
And so is Dawn.
Do they have the most current agenda? That might be the problem for them, Lee, just to make sure they got the revised agenda.
I just emailed him it too.
Perfect. Great. And Marita Inglesby. Okay, no Marita yet. Let's see, we have Tatiana Lipschitz.
Yeah, I'm here.
Hi. Claire Carter. No, Claire's hasn't joined us yet. Michael Charles.
Hello, everyone. Mike Charles from Marshall Park neighborhood.
Okay, thank you. And Maria T. Mai. I guess Maria hasn't joined us yet. Robert Lennox.
Shannon Hiller Webb is the representative for South Burlingame tonight.
Great, thank you, Shannon. And is Anna joined us yet? I know Michael Kaplan is on the call.
I'm here. I'm present.
Oh, hi, Anna.
Hi.
And we're saying our neighborhoods.
Oh, sorry, South Portland Neighborhood Association. I apologize.
Perfect, thank you. And Charlie Van Rosser.
Present, Swirl.
And Javier Moncada.
Present, West Portland Park Neighborhood Association.
Thank you. And I think for our committee chairs, Diane Bacteria. Do you want to say your committee?
Diane is on, but she's muted.
Okay, we'll go on to Gary Rundy.
How are we getting that echo?
Present.
Is everybody else hearing that echo?
Yeah, not sure.
If everyone that is not speaking would put on their mute button, that will reduce the amount of feedback.
Yes, thank you.
It usually happens when somebody calls in and are on their web audio.
Okay, and
worse.
Gary Rundy.
Here.
Great. And your land use? Okay. Mike Lindman?
I'm here.
And Mike, can you say your committee?
Parks Committee.
Great, thank you. And Kim Silverman with our Safety Committee is excused tonight, won't be attending. We have Patty McMahon.
Schools Committee.
Okay, thank you. And Murphy Terrell. Don't see Murphy yet. Great. And for other board members, could you introduce yourselves for folks who
Janet,
did?
this is Jackie from Homestead.
Thank you. Thank you.
Diane Victoria. I don't know if you called my name.
So
Is
Clark
it-
Carter, Maplewood is here.
Thank you.
This is Don Bach, Hillsdale Rep Business Association.
And I see Bruce Kester with Ash Creek.
Claire Carter is on now.
Great.
Maria
And,
T. Myers.
Great. And George Franos.
Yes, I'm here.
Sorry,
think
Janet, to interrupt. Javier. Sam Peterson, your microphone keeps picking up everybody's voice. Can you mute? Please.
Okay.
Great. And Fran Laird, could you say your neighborhood association?
Collins View.
And has Richard Frymark joined us yet? Okay, I think that's it. Where we have a quorum
We have
present.
several guests. Carol Porto is on as a guest. But Courtney Vaughn was on earlier. I don't see her at the moment. Okay, anyway. There she is. Okay, welcome, Courtney. Courtney is
Thank you.
From Southwest Connection, I believe.
Correct.
Okay. Any other, Marie Tybal was on earlier. Are you still on, Marie? Marie Tybal is, yes, showing on as a guest. Any other guests want to introduce themselves?
Laura Campos,
Laura.
South Portland.
Okay, so, okay, the next thing we need to do is approve the agenda. Okay, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as it's written?
This is Marita. I'll move.
Okay, there's a second.
Second.
Sure, Tony seconds.
Okay, Marita moves, Tony seconds. Okay, I'm gonna ask for a voice vote on this. All in favor of approving the agenda as written? Say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? I hear no one opposed. So the agenda is approved as written.
Sam,
Okay.
could you please remute yourself? Thank you.
Okay, and so with that out of the way, welcome back. Commissioner Hardesty is generous enough to join us this evening. She visited a month ago and has indicated she wants to talk to us regarding SWNI's status as a coalition. We're proud to have her at this meeting to hear about her goals and priorities for coalitions. So welcome, Commissioner Hardesty. Would you, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. And thank you so much for making time on the agenda. When I spoke with you on January 27th, I told you that I was doing my due diligence. I was reviewing information. And once I made a decision, I would come back. And I am here tonight because I have done what I told you I would do, and I am back tonight with my decision. And I thought it was important that I deliver my decision in person rather than through a email. And so what I want you to know tonight is that the service of district coalitions are very valued by myself and my colleagues. As you know, though, there have been several ongoing financial management concerns of SWNI. And as I've reviewed the material, I have come to the conclusion, and I will say, because my job is to make sure that we are doing good fiscal management of public dollars. Based on that, I have reviewed all the financial concerns that were laid out. I had my financial policy advisor review as well, the audits and the other information. The results of the audit and a staff briefing have proven that there has been substantial mismanagement of public money, among additional concerns. So after analyzing the audit and information from the staff briefings, I am recommending that the Office of Community and Civic Life provide services to community members and neighborhood associations currently served by SWNI. And this will be effective immediately. I want you to know that the City Council values our neighborhood associations, and just like we're doing currently in North Portland and Northeast Portland, we will provide the same level of support to Southwest neighbors that those communities get through city staff, and a much better coordinated effort to ensure that communities are getting their needs met. If you have concern about us not being committed to neighborhood associations, I want to let you know that that is absolutely not true. I understand you've been told that I was in lockstep with other opinions about neighborhood associations. And I want you to know that I value community members coming together to work cooperatively to make their community better. In fact, I've done that in Portland for 32 years for free. And now I'm just privileged to serve you on the city council. We will begin, and by the way, I want you to know that this will be coming to the city council because the city council will have to approve reallocating dollars to these staff positions. And they will be coming to the city council on March 3rd for a first reading. And that will be an opportunity for public testimony. And the official vote will be on March 10th. And that will be a second reading, and there will be no public testimony. I want you to also know that I have scheduled a town hall with neighborhood associations and district coalition members for Tuesday, March 9th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. I have not made any permanent decisions about what happens next. I'm still in the process of gathering a lot of information around civic life. But I promised I would come back when a decision was made about SWNI, and I have. So I'll stop there. Questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, yeah, if you have a question, please raise your blue. Murphy, you've got your physical hand up, I'll recognize you.
So thank you very much, Commissioner Hardesty, and thank you for coming and telling us, oh, here I am personally. My question is, I am the chair of one of the augmented and supported SWNI committees. For example, we have schools, we have parks, we have transportation, I have watershed. So what's to happen with these committees that are not neighborhood associations specifically? Thank you.
Thank you. I have no control over what happens to committees that are not directly related to the neighborhood association. I think that all the areas that you mentioned, I know that there are active groups of people around those issues. So I suspect that there will be conversations in the community about how people are going to partner up for the hard work that we have ahead.
Okay, Joyce.
Thank you, Commissioner Hardesty. Should other coalitions around the city be on notice that coalition to coalition efforts will be further restricted?
Not at all, but at the same time, clearly, there will be changes in how the applications may happen. There will be changes. I haven't made any decisions one way or another. This was a pressing issue when I came in January. You were really clear that this was something that couldn't wait until I had the whole system dealt with, right? So this was a priority. And I prioritized making sure I came back with this decision. When I make other decisions, I'm happy to share those.
Tatiana?
I just wanted to thank Commissioner Hardesty for being so timely and resolute with her analysis and her decision.
Thank you.
Hillsdale looks forward to working with the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Steve, just so you know, I can't seem to raise my hand, but I'd like to be called on at some point. It's Shannon. Thank you.
Okay, Shannon, I'll remember that. Okay. Jackie?
Yes, Commissioner Hardesty, thank you for telling us in person. That must have been a hard thing to do and a hard decision to come to.
It was.
I would like to know, there will be logistics. If it's effective immediately, there will be logistics, and we will need contacts and avenues of communication to civic life.
That is correct. And I can give you a staff person's name. Andrea Williams will be helping us with this transition.
Okay.
So you don't have to go looking for people. She's going to be your contact person, and she's going to make sure that people get good information.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Okay, Charlie?
Yes, thank you. I'm wondering, is a similar financial examination going to be done to the other neighborhood associations or coalitions?
Can't answer that at this moment. Possibly.
Okay. Bruce Kester?
I'm sorry, I was having some trouble. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Commissioner Hardesty, I was just wondering, I'm with the Ash Creek Neighborhood Association. I'm their representative. And I'm curious what I'm supposed to report back to them, because SWNI provides our banking, and also we're a 501(c) through them, and also turning on the minutes. When will we get information about the procedure?
Again, Andrea will be happy to help with the transition. I know that this is going to be, that's why it has to happen immediately. I know this is going to be a transition, and we'll have to work cooperatively together. And remember, this is about one contract. This is about one specific contract with the city of Portland and SWNI. Period. This is the only analysis that I have come to a conclusion on.
Janet?
Hi, Commissioner Hardesty. In the past, when these transitions have taken place, usually there's a kind of a centralized office space within the neighborhoods where this happens in Northeast, East Portland. Do you anticipate a community-based office where volunteers would be working with city staff?
I cannot answer that question right now. As you know, we're still in a pandemic, and I can't answer that question today.
Okay, no worries. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Shannon?
Thank you so much. I just want to say thank you so much for dedicating your staff. Working with Kristen was an amazing experience. Thorough, respectful, unbiased, and really an excellent listener in the whole process. So thank you for taking the time, doing the due diligence, offering the respect to this coalition, to show up for us repeatedly, and that you have committed to your continued support for Neighborhood Association. I can't say enough. And I also want to praise Sukri immensely for the kindness that she showed in the process of doing her due diligence in vetting this. So I really appreciate your time here and all the respect that you've shown in the process.
Thank you.
Melanie?
Thank you, Commissioner. I really appreciate, as others do, your willingness to tell us this face to face. It is very helpful, and it allows us to make plans very swiftly. So thank you. A quick question that possibly the answer is going to be Andrea Williams, but for events that have been scheduled, are we to put those on hold, or will they go forward as planned?
And honestly, I don't know what you have scheduled, so I guess you are correct. The answer would be connect with Andrea and see how we can help you continue to do the things that you have planned.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Rita?
Hi, Commissioner Hardesty, thank you. I just wanted to clarify, you said immediately, and then there was a March 10th decision by City Council. Which date are we looking at?
So let me repeat that. And so what I said was the decision is immediate, and the City Council authorization to hire 2 staff people to provide the service to the Southwest neighborhood comes to the City Council first on March 3rd. And for a first reading and community input, and the second will be on March 10th. And that will be the second reading and final vote.
Thank you, but we don't need to wait for that final vote.
Nope. You can do whatever you feel you need to do up to and including that day.
Okay, thank you.
Tony Hansen?
Yes, hello, Tony Hansen with Crestwood. SWNI is our fiscal sponsor for several accounts that we have for our events and for our parks. What's going to happen with that? Or should we take them over and go through that rigmarole?
Well, I think you should reach out to Andrea and walk through this immediate process. There are things scheduled all year long, so I cannot answer specifically for your particular events.
Okay, no, it's not the events, it's our bank accounts.
Oh, your
Our
bank
fiscal sponsors holding our funds.
Right. That's your relationship with SWNI. I'm only talking about the city's relationship with SWNI.
Okay, but if SWNI doesn't have any funding and is now essentially bankrupt.
I'm sorry, my issue is only about the city's funding with SWNI. Your other relationships, you still have to work that out with SWNI.
All right, I'll take another one. SWNI holds insurance for us as board members as well as for our events, National Night Out, everything. Is that being taken over by Civic Life?
So again, that's going to change, right? Because if the city's not giving SWNI money to do that, that will change. I cannot tell you tonight what the process will be for that change to take place, but I have given you a contact in the Office of Civic Life that will work with you to ensure that you're not missing a beat for the things that you need to do. But again, my relationship, the city's relationship is with SWNI, and you have individual relationships with SWNI that are not relationships with the city. But we will help you as much as we can. But as far as taking over bank accounts, I know the city won't do that. You'll have to find another fiscal sponsor.
And Tony, we're insured till the beginning of July.
Right. But now's the time to be figuring that out for the summer.
Exactly. And a time for you to be thinking about what other relationships, right? What other partnerships will provide the same kind of opportunities. I mean, I don't know what will happen with SWNI, but that's up to the SWNI board.
Hey, Don Bach?
Somebody's talking, but you're on mute. Don, you're on mute.
Thank you. I
You're
can hear. Can you hear me now? Okay, thank you. Thank you for coming. Insurance is a major issue. I think you've said that. The rest of the things that, there's a lot of things going on with regard to the way we manage our committees and so on. We've had staff support in the past. Was it likely that the people coming on board will help support our committees as we've worked in the past, or we got to start from scratch as we go forward?
I cannot answer that question tonight.
Okay, and then I guess we would appreciate a little bit more understanding of the implications of a contract starting in July with regard to what we do between now and then. Because if we have to organize 501c3s and set up all new bank accounts and all that, it's a lot of work on a lot of people's part. If we don't have to do that after July, we wouldn't want to go through all those steps necessarily. So it's a little bit like we're in pretty deep water in terms of trying to make this sense of this.
And again, my only responsibility is to the city's funds. SWNI is a nonprofit organization. That's a 501c3, and their board will have to meet and make decisions about how they'll operate. I understand the anxiety because we're in an unknown period, and we're going to be in an unknown period for a few weeks. I would highly recommend that you think about the other community resources that you can partner with, and think about where do you get insurance, right? Where's a partnership that allows that to continue? Because I don't know the answer to these individual organizations that have these individual relationships with SWNI. It's not appropriate for me to comment on those.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Laura?
Oh, hi, Joanne. This is Laura Campos.
Hi.
I hope I'm not being repetitive. I'm just having trouble grappling with this. I have a grant for a beaver festival that occurred last year, but there's still, I'm wondering about, we had that with Civic Life under the neighborhood small grants. So how would the money be released if there's any money left? Also,
I think you should call Andrea at the Office of Civic Life and ask her that specific question, because the grants are still being managed by Civic Life. So I think you should call her and ask her.
Okay, well, this year, I'm being funded by Metro. So my fiscal sponsor will be City Repair. So I guess I'm set.
Excellent.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
All right, Mike Charles.
Hello, yeah, this is Mike Charles. I'm with Marshall Park Neighborhood Association. I don't really have a question, but I do have a statement. I'd like to use my minute. And everybody's been so nice, but frankly, Commissioner Hardesty, I am really disappointed by this decision. SWNI has done so much for my neighborhood association since I've been involved with it for the last 16 years. And the thought of going forward without SWNI, I can barely scrape together enough volunteers half the time. I can't even get someone to come to these meetings. That's why I'm here myself. And SWNI's done so much to keep us going. And the fact that it sounds like you've decided to tear it all down rather than address the issues and problems and work with SWNI to try and solve them, I just find that really disappointing. So I don't know how it's going to work out going forward. I'm not optimistic. We'll just have to find out together, I guess. And that's all I have to say.
Well, thank you. Let me just say, I appreciate you and I agree. I think people are being very nice, right? I was waiting for somebody to go, what are you thinking, right? And so let me just say, I just appreciate you putting that out there. This was not a rash decision. I didn't come in with my mind made up. What I did was my due diligence. What I did was review years of documentation, years of audits, years of non-accountability with how the dollars were utilized, the banking systems, the oversight. So, this is not, I didn't just like wake up and say, okay, this is my decision. It was based on a lot of factual data. that tracks a history of financial mismanagement. I have an obligation to, when I give a contract as a city, I have an obligation to make sure that those funds are utilized in a way that they were intended. So
Mike Lynn,
you were so
thank-
straightforward, I can be so straightforward.
thank you. Mike Linman,
Commissioner Hardesty, thank you for coming.
You're welcome.
I guess my only question is, a lot of what SWNI has done just on the nuts and bolts is helping file our taxes, being a fiscal sponsor, being the backbone for insurance. And thus far, what I've heard you say is you're going to need to go find those things out somewhere in the community. So I guess my question is, what exactly is civic life going to do for neighborhoods? Because it seems to me that the main things that SWNI did, civic life is not going to be doing for us.
Well, again, SWNI is a nonprofit organization, right? And the city contracts with many community-based nonprofits. But we have a standard of how city dollars are utilized, and those standards have not been met over and over and over again.
That's a separate question, though.
It is not a separate, I mean, it is what the city gives SWNI money to do. The other things that SWNI does is in addition to what the city gives it. The nonprofits that we have in other parts of the city that are neighborhood-based, that are coalition-based, the city is not their only financial resource. Most of them collect money from other locations so that they're able to provide additional resources in the neighborhood. Clearly, the city's resources can't fund everything that everyone wants to do in a community.
I understand that, and I'm not there's a separate question between your decision here. My question is, you say that you support the neighborhoods in Southwest Portland. What exactly is civic life going to do for us? Because all of the things that SWNI does, you're telling me that you guys aren't going to do.
I'm telling you that Andrea Williams is the civic life contact to help us go through this transition. I have not said that we will not do anything, but I have not promised to do everything that SWNI has promised you they would do, because I don't know what those promises are.
okay.
Right? Because I've heard from a lot of different people, well, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to do that. Right? All I can tell you is I provided you a liaison to help with the transition.
Can we have her phone number and email address? Because we don't have that either. All we have is a name and nothing else.
I will, when I have concluded my time here this evening, I will be sending you an email, and I will send you her contact information in that email.
Okay,
And that
thank you.
email will confirm the conversation that I've had tonight.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Mike. We're going to move on. Richard Freimark.
Well, I think this is a pile. I think if you sit here in front of us and tell us that you've done your homework, then you should be able to answer our questions instead of just redirect us to somebody at Civic Life. That you are not taking your responsibility as the commissioner. You're simply slipping it off to somebody else who's going to say, I can't help you. It's up to the commissioner. I think you're a slap in the face of everybody who lives on the west side. I think because we pay more taxes than anybody else, you're jealous. I think that we're not being represented by you in this organization, and I think you're lying to us.
Okay, that's out of
And
line.
that's being polite.
Right, Richard, that comment is out of line, so I'd like you to.
I don't think it is. I think somebody has to.
It absolutely
truth
is.
to power.
Thank you, Steve. It is out of line. I will call a point of order.
Okay, Fran Laird.
Well, I appreciate people stepping in. I am not a liar. If I was a liar, I wouldn't be here tonight telling you the decision that I made. And you can agree, you can disagree with my decision, but you cannot disagree with the integrity under which this decision was made. You don't like it, that's okay. But I have given you how I came to my decision. And I have also told you that I've made no long-term decisions about the entire system. And so you can take that for what it's worth. But thank you for your statement.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Fran Laird?
Thank you. I just have a question or two questions about clarification. You said there would be a town hall meeting on
Yes.
the 9th?
That's correct.
And what time?
From 6 to 7:30 p.m. And you
Okay,
can
will we receive information on that?
you can register at my website, at my commissioner website.
Okay.
Portland.gov/Hardesty.
Thank you. And then the other thing I wanted to clarify is it right that you said that on the city council, at the city council meeting on the 10th, you will be discussing hiring 2 employees to help us?
On March 3rd, will be the first reading of a city council ordinance that I will present to allow us to hire 2 staff people to, yes, support the neighborhood associations until we get to a renewal process and decide how we're going to move forward. Yes.
And is that also, is that including Andrea, or is she, or is she a third person that we'll be able to use as a contact?
So Andrea is just a contact at Civic Life, so that you have one person who you can talk to without trying to find out who is the person that knows what is happening with Southwest neighborhoods.
Okay, and then just so I can go back to my Collins View board and tell them, we will be the only group of neighborhood associations in the city without coalition representation. Is that correct?
Not true. No, you'll be one of 3 coalitions in the city that are staffed by City of Portland staff.
Okay, thank you. I understand.
Okay. Well, there are a few more people with their hands up, but I think we need to move on to the rest of our agenda. So again, I want to thank you, Commissioner Hardesty, for being here this evening. And of course, we're all disappointed, or many of us are disappointed in the news, but we'll look forward to working with your liaison and with the new staffers that you hire to serve Southwest neighborhoods in the future.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I think we should let the other neighborhoods speak also.
Yeah, I agree.
What else is more important?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but you know, do you want to review these debunked financial statements instead of talking to the commissioner?
I agree, Steve. We probably need to keep discussing.
Okay, all right. Well, all right, then I've got Joyce Del Rosario up for a question.
Thank you, Steve.
Thank you for the opportunity. Commissioner Hardesty, the funds that were withheld from SWNI, are we now as neighborhood associations set up to compete against each other for that technical assistance in the interim?
No.
And how will are those funds available to us then as neighborhood associations to solicit immediately?
No, no, we, again, I think you need to call Andrea. I am working with the Office of Civic Life to ensure that we can continue to support the Southwest neighborhoods. I cannot tell you tonight what that's going to look like in the future, other than we will be on the fast track of hiring 2 staff to work with the neighbors. And so, but I do not have the details of what that will look like. And, but we'll build that together.
Okay, thank you. Marianne Fitzgerald.
Thank you, Steve. And thank you, Commissioner Hardesty, for what I consider devastating news. I just wonder if you read the testimony from December 9th, as well as July, when there were a lot of questions and comments about the financial audit and some of the representations or misrepresentations that people like me pointed out in my thorough testimony. And we were not allowed to testify in July, December, or today. And so this is my only chance to tell you how disappointed I am that you reviewed documents that we believe were misconstrued and contained errors, omissions, and did not include some official documentation that might have told a different story. And anyway, so just take it that I'm disappointed. But I wanted to point out that the other neighborhoods run by the city in North End and East Portland have nonprofit arms. And it really is one of the requirements of civic life support to help the nonprofits with the fiscal sponsorships and with the insurance that we as neighborhoods need to function. And, you know, fiscal sponsorship and committees, the fiscal sponsorships and the insurance are critical to us as neighborhoods, and we absolutely need those services.
I was a longtime member of East Portland Action Plan, and so as a neighborhood volunteer in East Portland, in a place that I thought elected leaders didn't know exist until after they were elected or until they were running for office. And so I know what the dependency of how coalitions can help neighborhood efforts. Honestly, East Portland Action Plan would have never existed had we not got some support early on from the Office of Neighborhood Involvement.
Yeah. A full-time staff just for one project.
I'm sorry.
Laura Wintergreen was a full-time staff for one project.
Laura Green was a one-time staff for a lot of different and creative community projects that took place, right? So, but my point is that I have a long history with neighborhood associations, so I'm not coming into this work blind. But this was about SWNI and the totality of the information that I reviewed. And Marianne, you remember I gave you an hour for you to present your information to me, and so you know I've heard information from everyone. So it's not accurate that we haven't actually reviewed all the information that we had available.
Okay, I don't remember, but I'll let it go.
All right.
Sam Pearson.
Okay, I have two questions. One's very simple. Is SWNI eligible to look at and go forward with putting in a bid, shall we say, for funding for 21-22?
Any nonprofit legal 501 has the ability to apply for any funds that they qualify for.
Okay. My second question, what changes are going to be taking place as far as City Code 3.96, which takes the neighborhood associations, coalitions, business businesses.
Nothing at this time.
Well, what I was really asking is which is going to come first? The changes that will be coming forward, because you are changing coalition and neighborhood association and so on.
I'm actually one, Sam.
Excuse me for just a second. Sam, could you mute while she's answering your question? Go ahead.
I was just saying, Sam, I've only done this for one coalition based on the totality of the information I reviewed. It does not reflect on every other coalition office at this moment. And this is the only change I'm making at this time.
Okay. Javier?
Thanks, Steve. Commissioner, I think you answered my question that you'll be providing Andrea Williams from Civic Life's contact information. So thank you for that. I will share that this decision is bittersweet, and we are open to new ways of doing business. I was poking around the city's website, and I see that the East Portland and North Portland neighborhood coalitions have city-run bylaws that are substantially different than SWNI's bylaws. So my question is, one, should we start thinking about how we rewrite our bylaws? And then a couple other things I wanted to mention that are important to the neighbor associations are, again, this is stuff that people have already said, how we manage our finances, our insurances, and then one thing someone hasn't mentioned is website support and webpage support. So those three things are important to us. And then of course the SWNI bylaws. I guess it was more of a comment than a question. Thank you.
So too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, Jackie.
Yes, Joanne, I just have a question about equity. All the neighborhood associations are supported in one way or another through Civic Life for their websites and their liability insurance that they give to the coalitions, but with the SWNI coalition out of the picture. That's 17 Southwest neighborhoods that are going to be going directly to Civic Life for the assistance that they would normally get at one location. But are the Southwest neighborhoods going to be treated as equal as other neighborhood associations throughout the city?
Well, if other coalitions have the same financial history and the same lack of reporting appropriately to the city, they could expect the same kind of audits and the same kind of repercussions from that behavior. So yes, equity is important to me, and I will make sure that I hold every neighborhood coalition office to the same standard of financial accountability to the city.
But those funds that were ordinarily or that are ordinarily granted to the coalitions are meant for the neighborhood association.
Feel free to call Andrea during the interim and see how she can support your work.
Does she have an idea of all that's coming?
She does. I've talked to her, as has Sue, so she's aware.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Maria Timai. Maria, are you still?
Yep. Sorry, I was on mute. Hi. I have a question regarding the timing. The ordinance is going to go before council on March 3rd for the first reading, and then the second reading on the 10th, a week later, and then you're going to have the open house or the forum. What do you plan on presenting at the forum? Because the decision will already be made. There'll be no input.
Well, the forum won't be about SWNI. The forum will be about the forum will just be an opportunity for neighborhood associations to ask questions, coalitions to ask questions, right? The issue of SWNI would have been resolved by that meeting. So this is just a get to know you meeting.
Okay.
Because I'm sure there are a lot of questions from a lot of different neighborhood associations. I'm just looking forward to an open house and having an opportunity to see what's on people's mind and how they want to work cooperatively and what we build coming out of this pandemic.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, again, thank you, Commissioner Hardesty. And thank you everyone for airing your concerns. And we'll move on to the rest of our agenda now.
Thank you very much for having me. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
You too.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, isn't that interesting? Okay.
Hey, Steve, I have a question.
Who's asking?
Javier.
Javier, yes.
And it's to anybody on the board, anybody on the call. Does anybody know what year the city took over the other two neighborhood coalitions.
In the
Yeah,
and
East,
this-
East Portland was about, yeah, East Portland was about
They're both
25
in the
plus
mid-90s.
years ago.
Oops, sorry. East Portland was 25 years ago.
Yeah, roughly.
And then,
Yeah.
and the other one?
They're both from the mid-90s,
Oh, okay. Same year, you think?
within a year of each other, I believe.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
All right. Well, as Commissioner Hardesty did say, and she's so right, that we are still a nonprofit. And we still have our same responsibilities and for the moment. Okay, and we're going to see how we manage this transition and how we move forward from here. I would also remind you that she said, or someone said that the neighborhoods, I don't know what to say, the coalition areas that are now served by the Office of Community and Civic Life, there are nonprofits in those neighborhoods, in those coalition areas as well, okay? And SWNI is one such, may choose to remain such and provide services to neighborhoods going forward. And I think that, although that's going to be
I don't know that we have made that decision, Steve. I'm sorry.
That's right. We have not made that decision.
I would like to move to dissolve SWNI.
Okay. Well, sorry. That's motion's not in order.
Steve, this is Don Bach. I'd like to make a
Don,
suggestion.
yeah.
It seems to me that with the hearing coming up in March, early March, that we should look at each neighborhood and put together a budget that we need between now and the 1st of July, and ask Civic Life to include that in their work they're doing. And that would include our Zoom meetings and so on and so forth. There's a lot of other things I probably couldn't even think of, but let's put together a budget that we say, we need this to keep going as neighborhoods, and ask it for it on the behalf of the neighborhoods rather than with
I
SWNI.
disagree. No.
Thank
Well,
you. Tanya, please
let's have
don't
a
talk over
discussion
Don.
rather than- Let's have a
Okay, that's your
discussion
first
rather
warning.
than a veto here.
Okay.
Hand is up, Steve.
Is that Katie?
Yes, it is.
Go ahead.
Yes, I had.
I'm sorry. Can you hold it for just a second? Lee, can you give me a co-host so I can put people's hands down?
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Katie.
Yes, I had come to this board meeting with a motion, and given Commissioner Hardesty's decision tracking a history of financial mismanagement, I move for a no confidence vote in all SWNI financial reporting.
Second.
Okay, is there discussion?
Yes, I would like to continue. I wrote a detailed list of questions which I submitted to our treasurer. The answers are not reasonable. The problems with the financial statements are, I'm shocked. I'm a financial professional. I'm a qualified expert witness on financial analysis, and the answers I received do not address my questions. The questions that I have raised show a problem with our financial reporting. A negative accounts payable is not a recognized way to identify anything. I mean, I'm shocked. Negative liabilities are made as mistakes, and to even have one appear shows a lack of understanding of fundamental bookkeeping. We are relying upon this financial information to make important decisions. We are not informed accurately of the financial condition of SWNI. That's my discussion.
Okay, yeah, I would like, Teddy, are you on the call?
I am.
Would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, that was a loaded comment there. So I think you refer that negative accounts payable, one, it's not on the balance sheet. So I do understand what you're trying to say. That as stated before, that cash flow sort of exercise that's done, it's really more informative and to show directional movement
It's
in the
not on the
past.
cash flow statement, Teddy. It is on the balance sheet that you are responsible for reviewing.
I'll have to take a back a look at it.
Again, you know, I have no confidence in the financial information that I'm being given to make a decision as a board member.
Steve,
Zero.
I can't raise my hand to comment. I don't know why, but I would like to comment on this when you call me.
Okay.
Hey, I think we have motions on the sitting there, and this isn't where we are in the agenda. So point of order, this can either go into new business or something else, but we're not.
Yeah,
this is not what
We
we're
haven't even
discussing now.
approved an agenda.
We did approve the
I think
agenda.
that
The agenda was approved early in the meeting before
Oh.
Commissioner Hardesty spoke. Okay,
I didn't vote on an agenda.
I'm sorry.
well, it was voted on.
It was a voice vote
Okay,
that passed
thank you.
unanimously. Okay, yes, so thanks, Tony, for making that point. This will go under new business. Okay. So
I missed that. What is gonna go on the new business, Steve?
the
I
motion,
will-
Katie's motion is going under new business.
It's already been seconded with discussion.
Okay.
What is Katie's motion?
I'm
I
telling you
didn't
where it is on the agenda is under new business. It's out of order at this point in the meeting.
I would like to know what that motion is because I didn't have internet.
It's not being discussed now, so it doesn't matter. It's in new business.
We'll pick it up under new business. And Sam, can you mute again, please, unless you have something you want to add?
Yeah, I wanted to table that motion until new business.
Wait,
Okay,
He
All
needs
right.
a second.
it's tabled until the,
He needs a
until new
second to
business.
table it.
It's tabled. It's not in order at the moment. Okay, so we're moving on. Okay, so yeah, so I think I'm going to give the president's report in Leslie's absence here, and I think there's actually a useful repeat of something that she brought up last time as well, which is a quote from Amanda Gorman, the poet laureate who spoke at the inauguration, saying, "We are far from polished, far from pristine, but that doesn't mean we're striving to form a union that's perfect. We're striving to forge our union with purpose, to compose a country, in this case, a coalition committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man. And so we lift our gazes not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first, we must put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so that we can reach out our arms to one another. We speak harm to none and harmony to all." So that's the end of the quote from poet laureate Gorman. Now, speaking of operations in Southwest neighborhoods, and Southwest neighborhoods, despite continuing to do what it does, we have to do it. Okay, what we have right now is we worked out a system for providing essential services through the help of the executive committee and several volunteers. In the folder tonight, there's a spreadsheet advising you of what essential services we're providing and to our neighborhoods at this time. Okay, and for those of you who ask questions about of Commissioner Hardesty about things like insurance, about what various services that SWNI is currently providing to the neighborhoods. This is the response for now. Okay. This, hello? Okay. We will continue to develop the system as we go. Questions about our finances go to Teddy. The winter retreat to Steve, bylaws and protocols to Sam, and other kinds of questions to Leslie or Janet. Hello, somebody is talking.
It's Richard Freimark.
Richard, can you mute, please? Thank you. Okay. Now, okay. Zoom meetings have been scheduled through the end of March, and with someone to open the meetings and to coordinate the use of the licenses. Bills are being paid as received and donations are being deposited. By the end of the month, the association will have no further liability for accrued vacation by our accountant who will have used it up. The rent obligation is being negotiated with the city at this time. We have no details yet whether we send our draft 990 to an outside CPA and incur that expense is up to the board. We have board members and the finance committee to prepare the 990s. Our website is up, but not fully operational because we need to recertify it with Microsoft. Lee, did I come straight into the website this evening? Did I, is that piece fixed now?
No, I have a meeting with Microsoft in the morning, hopefully.
Okay. All right. Lee Bueller is designated webmaster as a volunteer, and we have other people with website experiences who are trying to help. Website was the work of one person over the last several years, and it will take time to figure out how to make it work properly going forward.
Don't imply, Steve, that that's someone's fault, please.
What?
Don't imply that that was one person.
I'm not implying. No. No, the point. There's no blame here. Is absolutely inappropriate.
Yes.
What we're trying to do here is get the problem fixed.
Yes. Well,
okay. We're trying to get the problem fixed. That's it.
And that's what you, yeah. Well, then
okay.
Retract the first sentence you said before that.
Okay. I'm not suggesting anyone is to blame. Okay. And I just to, is there anybody that has a problem getting to the board folder? Access to that is okay?
As long as you send the Google leaks, I'm not going through the unsecure. I'm not bypassing that. So if you continue to send the Google links to the documents, I'm fine.
I see, okay. Okay, Sam. Do you have a motion regarding a nominating committee?
Yes. Since SWNI is a nonprofit, in keeping with our compliance and our bylaws, it's important that we approve a nominating committee at this time. We have some people who have volunteered: Patty McMahon, Fran Laird, and Joyce Della Rosa. And I would make the motion that these people be voted on and approved for our nominating committee for the May elections. And at this time, is there anybody else who wants to volunteer to be on the nominating committee to find candidates for the executive committee?
I move approval of the committee as you pointed, or seconded if that's the motion.
Moved and seconded. Are there any other, anybody else want to volunteer to be on that committee?
Well, there's discussion, right? So I can't raise my hand, but I'd like to speak.
Okay, yeah, we'll get to that in a moment. Just confirming whether there are any more volunteers or not.
This is Javier with West Portland Park. How many hours a month are you anticipating this committee would need?
Sam?
Depending upon how many people volunteer and what requirements the board would like to see in like a president or a vice president, or what things they want to see different. I can't answer that question. In the past, when you look at 30 people, how many phone calls 3 people can make? That's 10 phone calls to board members, and board members are going to make suggestions for people. You know, it could be as few as maybe 4 hours a month per person, or it could be as many as 15. I don't know.
I think we're going to find that out or get an idea when Shannon talks. I was on the nominating committee last year, and I know since then Shannon is looking for a more aggressive committee and nominations process. So Steve, I think you might want to have Shannon talk now and answer Javier.
Okay, sure. Go ahead, Shannon. I see you, Joyce, with your hand up.
And I figured out how to raise my hand. So thank you. I won't be asking for that permission again. Gary, I think you're right. Last year, I raised questions about the process and how it referenced back to our equity commitments through our racial equity policy that we passed. We have the recruitment process last time was to go strictly to neighborhood associations only for the recruitment. I did a post on Nextdoor in an attempt to broaden the search to bring people into this organization that are more representative of the community that we are within. There was nothing done by the nominating committee, and therefore we have no diversity in our leadership. The 1 second VP, we have virtually no diversity in our leadership. The 1 second VP that was a minority, she quit after a month because she had no confidence in the officers of the board and the liability risks that were there. I continue to have concerns that recruitment's going to be even more challenged given the fact that we have no money. We have a no confidence vote by the city. We have no grant. The neighborhood associations will not be represented by SWNI. They are going to go elsewhere with the city itself. So I'm trying to understand what the point of this nominating committee is actually going to be, given that this organization is breaking apart at the seams. So how are we going to nominate and recruit? And then if we are, how are we going to make a more diverse organization?
Joyce?
Hi, I am on the nominating committee. Thank you very much for allowing me to participate in the process. First of all, you guys notice we are missing at this point a gentleman to represent us. So guys, if you're out there, this is a call to you. We did not want a nominating committee that was just one gender. And I can speak to what Shannon was saying. I was a recruiter for the census, and I could tell you it was tough this year to recruit, to get people to be census takers amidst this very divisive climate. But I will encourage anyone who wants to serve in this area that we will not permit muckraking and social virtue signalers to discourage volunteers who put in blood, sweat, and tears. We are all volunteers here, and we're going to make sure that people feel supported in that effort and that we can meet them where they're at. This has been a really tough year for all of us to come together, and we're really hoping to use data, demographics, and social media. It's a really strong team on that to make this look like a recruitment effort unlike any other, because we know people who join now, they're not here to make a name for themselves on other people's shoulders. They're here to get stuff done for their neighbors. So I just want you to know we're ready for this. And I know it's going to be hard, but we will come out on the other end with more policies and controls that we can be proud of. So thank you again for letting me serve on this committee.
Thank you, Joyce. Dawn? You're muted, Dawn.
I had no comment. I'm sorry.
Okay, Mike Lindman? Mike?
You know what? I don't even want to comment right now. It's not worth it.
Okay, Javier?
No money, no funding, no confidence, bursting at the seams. Sign me up for I'd like to be part of the nominating committee.
Thank you, Javier.
No more, yeah.
Okay, Marita?
Just the different people.
So I heard Commissioner Hardesty say that she doesn't know what's going to be happening with neighborhood associations and the Office of Civic Life, and she still has this audit coming in. I mean, isn't there a possibility that we could, remake SWNI and apply for funding later, or, step up and meet whatever game she's going to be proposing? This is not the end of SWNI.
Okay, thank you. And she did make the point in response to Sam's question that SWNI was free to bid on contracts in the next fiscal year, along with any other nonprofits. Okay, Patty?
Yeah, to kind of tag on, we're still a nonprofit. And so bottom line is we're going to go move forward, and you move forward with, okay, how do we pivot? What's our goals? What's our missions and all that kind of stuff. My background's been executive recruiter and just like Joyce, we've already started the community engagement approach of looking out for the underrepresented communities, the racial minorities. We'll be going out into the community-based organizations, working with them. We've got a membership with Volunteer Match, which is a really good source of recruiting for a variety of people. So no, I mean, yes, we're really recognizing that we need to reach out to the community, and we're kind of excited about it.
Thank you, Patty. Dawn? You have to unmute, Dawn.
I don't think there's any reason to give up. It's a matter of basically putting together a good package to bid to the city. There may be other groups who decide they can do better than SWNI and let them bid against us. But, this group has survived a long time, and there's been a lot of petty stuff that's been put in an audit. So be it. We'll move on, and do things the way it ought to be done.
It's been
go from there.
Thank you, Dawn. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Okay, I'm going to call a question now. I'm going to ask for a voice vote first of all, or actually, I'm going to ask for a vote by blue hands. All people voting in favor, put up your blue hand.
Sorry, are we voting in favor of the nominating committee?
In favor of the nominating committee, yes.
Can you give the names of the people again?
Yes, yeah. This is Janet. It's Patty McMahon, Fran Laird, Joyce Del Rosario, and Javier Moncada.
Yes, that's more diverse now. We have a guy. Okay. Okay, I'm counting. Janet, you want to count those?
Oh, yeah. Let's see what I can, hang on just a sec. We have about 19 in favor.
19 in favor. Lee, can you take down all those hands, please?
Can you add Gary Rundy as a 20th? I'm having a little difficulty with you.
Sure.
Okay.
So Lee, all the hands are still up, just so you know. They haven't gone down yet.
I'm George Ranison, Far Southwest, also is in favor of the committee.
Okay, thank you. All the hands are down, Steve?
Hands are down. Okay, all those voting against, please raise your blue hand now.
I am not seeing any blue hands.
No? Are we missing anybody
No.
that's not able to raise the blue hand?
Don Bach is sitting there waving his hand in front of the screen. I don't know what it means or what he's doing, but.
Okay, so at this point, I don't have anyone in opposition to the nominating
Okay.
committee. I'm not seeing any opposition.
Okay, well, I think we'll cut that
And-
off and we'll say,
Oh.
do we need to ask for abstentions as well?
Janet, it's Fran Laird here. I'm going to abstain because I'm
Okay.
being
Yes.
nominated. Thank you.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Fran.
Okay, any other abstentions? Okay, I think that is passed. That motion is passed. Okay. All right, now it's my turn as first vice president. Okay. We unfortunately, because of weather and resulting power outages, we had to move out to postpone our retreat. It's now moved to Saturday, March 13th, 9 a.m. to noon. I will have invitations out to that in the next few days. I want to thank the retreat committee, which includes myself, Melanie Billings-Yun, Jackie Phillips, Laura Campos, Diane Victoria, and Mike Kaplan. Not everyone has been able to make all the meetings, but thank you all for your efforts on that. Okay, and we do have we were able to get the same guest speaker, Mary Doherty, an attorney, is going to present for a breakout group on fiduciary responsibility. And then we have also breakout groups on SWNI board organization and also on equity and inclusion. Okay. So any questions about the retreat?
Steve, this is Janet. Do we want to potentially invite Andrea Williams to the retreat, maybe to give us some initial remarks?
Very good suggestion. Very good suggestion. Yes, we will do that. Okay. And okay, now it's time to look at financials. Okay, so Teddy and Lee, you want to bring up the financials?
I'll repeat my encouragement for a motion not to accept this, but
okay,
I'm going back to
understood.
mute. Yeah.
Understood.
And
Thank you.
I will say that as a CPA, I don't have a problem with it. And I would say that a CPA trumps you.
Ooh, I haven't heard that since Leslie said, but I'm an attorney. So way to go, Charlie.
Okay,
Hey,
well, we're going to hold
Katie.
that. We're going to hold off on that discussion until we get to new business. Right now, we've got the financials up. Teddy.
Oh, sorry. I was muted. Are there any questions? It looks like Shannon has her hands up.
Well, I was looking forward to your presentation, so you don't have any report to share?
Do you have a question, or is your hand up because you're looking forward to the presentation?
Well, no, usually there's a treasurer's report. Again, this is their third month, then that we wouldn't have a treasurer's report. Okay, well, without a treasurer's report, that's fine. So SBNA was subjected to a financial procedure that was not ratified by the Finance Committee or the board itself when we were withdrawing our funds. We were compliant with the current financial policies and procedures that were in place. And so I want to understand how and why this decision was made to apply new rules to us that were quite significantly changed in our process of trying to remove monies that have no official ratification by, again, the Finance Committee.
So you have no questions on this report?
Well, I was looking forward to your treasurer's report. I'm asking a question. Are you not wanting to answer the question about that? We're in the finance section, are we not?
Are there any questions on this balance sheet report?
Is anyone going to answer this question?
So if there are no questions on the balance sheet report, I'll proceed to go through an overview of it. This is the end of January. At the end of January, we are coming to the end of February, but these numbers are for the end of January. So again, current assets sit at approximately $83,000. Current light, if we keep going.
You could explain to me what is the negative $3,000 in accrued retirement or accrued vacation accrual is, since we have a bookkeeper who's working 10 hours and should not be accruing any vacation, and how that is a negative. On the balance sheet.
Right, I do see that. So that looks like it's there in error. You're correct, Katie. What the mistake is stated is that the anticipation that all of the accrued vacation will be utilized by. No, that's just a mistake on there and needs to be
Yes,
fixed.
it is. Yes, it is. And again, it creates doubt that any decision that this board makes relying on the financial representations that you're making is a violation of duty of care.
Okay, the mistake of $3,000 is been noted, and
duty of care is a term of art, and there is no violation of the duty of care. I don't think that you're using that term correctly.
Thank you, Anna. Any other questions or comment on this?
I have a question.
Go ahead,
I'm not
Dana.
a financial person, but I do want to know, Teddy, are you actually doing this report? Because I don't mean any disrespect in any way, but it doesn't seem like you understand what it is even saying.
What is on there that I
She has to make the report.
I'm
She has to
honestly,
do
I
the report.
swear I'm not meaning any disrespect, but it doesn't, there's these mistakes almost every single meeting that we come to, and you're not always able to answer the questions that are come. So I'm like, who's actually I don't know. I mean it in a sincere way. Who is actually doing this report? Because month after month after month, there's these mistakes, and it's clearly what got us to the place that we're at. Again, no disrespect, Kitty. I don't know if you're the person who's doing this, but based on what Commissioner Hardesty said, this was a major part of their decision making. So, sorry, just question was, who's actually doing this report?
So I believe that the answer to the question, and Teddy, I did not prepare this report, is that QuickBooks generates this report, correct?
QuickBooks does generate this report.
Okay. So I
Data
think that-
in, data out.
Right. And data in is not by the treasurer.
So
So
then should
review
we
the
be
report?
using a different type
we
of.
do review the report
thing?
at the, sorry, what was that?
Should we not be using QuickBooks then? I mean, is
this
that
is
what
human
that's
error.
Fantastic. There is no better software than QuickBooks.
This is human error, and it's required the treasurer review the document, and there's errors in every report. So are you not reviewing the documents before presenting them to the board?
The finance committee is reviewing the documents.
Are you not going to the finance committee? Are the people on the finance committee not capable of understanding the errors that are occurring? Charlie, you could weigh in here.
I don't participate with the finance committee.
So
Who's on the finance committee?
Right.
I
Okay.
do have something to say, though.
No, I'm asking who's on the finance committee. I believed you to be on the finance committee. Is it Lee and
Yeah,
Teddy?
go ahead, Charlie. Why don't you?
Charlie, I am on the finance committee with Leslie and Janet. But go ahead, Lee. Lee, I'm sorry, not Lee, but Charlie.
Charlie.
You know, when I was doing this as treasurer, doing bookkeeping and having a good bookkeeper are hard to find. And I would say that Nancy Biskey does a very good job. She does have limitations. It does require additional scrutiny of the financial statements, but I don't think you could do much better otherwise. It's very complicated. It's not like a simple homeowner association in a condominium, where usually you just have the treasurer who doesn't have an accounting background performing accounting services. So it is very complicated. There are some things in which Nancy doesn't always understand how it's supposed to be interpreted. I did get a call from Leslie to give Nancy a call and ask her some of these things and what's going on in particular with the vacation accrual. And I haven't done it. And part of the reason why I haven't done it is because how much crap gets thrown around by people for people basically doing things for free, providing free services, trying to assist, trying to make this a better organization. And all we do is catch crap for it. So I'm happy to help. I will continue to help when I can. That's all.
Can I please ask who's officially on the finance committee? I do not believe Leslie.
Kevin, can anybody else speak?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, we
Yeah,
have our
sure.
hands up.
Joyce, go ahead.
I didn't get my question answered ever.
We'll
Hi.
come
Thank
back
you.
to that in a second.
I just wanted to make a general statement that, I've been a bookkeeper, a tax preparer. I'm studying to be an accountant. This is really hard stuff. There are volunteers working on this, and this is gonna be really hard to attract talent. If we attack our volunteers on technicalities in front of their peers in a way that is not cohesive. So I'm not gonna apologize to say that this is not productive to treat each other volunteers this way. If we see technical deficiencies from each other, let's find a more creative way to do it than use this time where we're all on the line to not let someone else save face and to point out deficiencies on the record when it could just be postponed.
It's okay. Shannon's asking questions for her next YouTube video. It's fine.
Okay.
Actually,
There-
I have
there's
the initial
a
question
simple-
and I did
there's a
not
s-
ask it for a YouTube video, and I did say I did not want to disrespect you in any way, Teddy. I was sincerely asking because I'm concerned that this is something that was the thing that got Commissioner Hardesty to make the decisions that she did. And since every month that I've come, I've seen that there seems to be constantly a concern. So I mean, no disrespect. I'm sorry, Ms. De La Rosa, if you thought that that might have been the case. I was asking a sincere question.
Thank you, Diane. And I want to respond to Shannon, actually, who's on the finance committee. Let's make sure I have this right. Teddy, this is Steve. I'm on it. Janet's on it. Leslie's on it.
Sam's on it.
And Sam's on it.
Thank you. I
that the whole thing?
understand Joyce's frustration and the appearance that this seems like we're piling on Teddy. I set my questions in advance. In fact, the same day I received the financial information. And the only reason I'm bringing it up is the answers I was given by Teddy did not address my questions.
Okay, thanks for pointing that out.
Then a follow-up question would have been follow-up questions would have been justified. Okay.
Sorry, I went to the emergency room today and I wasn't able to get that to you.
Okay, then the personal attack is not then the justified response to that fact. I'm sorry you went to the emergency room, but that doesn't in and of itself justify what I felt like was a personal attack.
And I apologize that you felt I personally attacked you. I am concerned about my exposure as a board member relying upon financial information that is flawed.
Okay. So is there more?
Any other questions on this?
Yeah, Steve, I have a question.
Don?
How many neighborhoods or organizations have asked to withdraw money from the reserve accounts?
The ones I'm aware of are South Burlingame and April Hill Park.
And have those transactions occurred?
They have.
And Arnold Creek.
And right, correct, Arnold Creek. And that one has occurred as well?
Yes.
So those three have occurred.
Thank you.
Okay, Kitty, go ahead.
All right, let's move on to the next one, unless there are other questions on this.
I have a question. If these neighborhood associations have received money, why are they still on the board? Why are they still participating in these meetings?
Sorry, Charlie, that's not relevant, okay? They had accounts banked with SWNI, and so one of them is not even a neighborhood association, it's April Hill Park. It's their money, what they want to do with it. That doesn't influence whether they're on the board of SWNI or not.
I think it does, because I believe the way the entity is organized, that's one of the requirements, is that there is a vested interest. And each neighborhood association has a right to that vested interest. I mean, I'd like to propose a motion that anybody who takes their money out can no longer be associated with SWNI.
Okay, well, possibly consider that as a new business. Okay, Janet, I hope you've made a note of that concern for the minutes.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, Teddy?
All right, so we've got, so we continue to receive contributions from generous donors. And this is for the entire, for the year, so that's July 2020 to January 2021. We've total contributions of about $39,000 from donors. And if we scroll down, well, not so fast. I can't read and comment that fast. So in our small grants account, total grants and contracts about $7,500. And let's see, any other key thing to point out. So we've got a question from Diane and Don. Go ahead.
And Shannon.
Diane.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think I had my hand up from before. My apologies.
Don.
Don. Shannon.
My hand is down. I'm sorry. It didn't come down from before.
Thank you. I'd like to understand if there have been any significant donations where they've come from. I'd like to understand if officers of the board have been donating. I know that at one point in time, Leslie Hammond came to the board to ask for permission to do a donation with disclosure. And I'd like to have officers of the board disclose if they have provided donations, and if so, what's the amount that they provided?
I think the policy is that we don't state who donors are.
Leslie Hammond asked for permission of the
see.
board with the decorum. We granted it to her the one time. Have there been additional donations, and if so, how much?
Well, so each individual officer would have to have asked for it to be publicly noted for their donation for us to comment on it. So if an officer is donated and wants to mention it now, feel free.
Well, I mean, the obvious omission is Leslie's not present. And I'd like to understand the
So
level.
your
of
question, then we have your question is noted then. And if
So
Leslie
Shannon,
wants to,
it sounds like those who have donated, if they have donated and are present here today, do not wish to have that publicly noted. The policy by default, as the default policy is to keep it private unless the donor has requested or asked that it be publicly noted.
Are you suggesting that's a SWNI policy? Just for
yes, it is. It is a SWNI policy. Go ahead, Kitty.
Patty, go ahead.
Sorry, I thought you said Katie. I was just going to question, is this really for the good of the order? I don't understand why this is even being brought up, and I just kind of recommend think about what we're doing here and what is our intent here. And I'm not sure going to talking about who's doing what in donations is very productive. Thank you.
Right.
Shannon, do you want to state why you were asking the question, or?
I'm an advocate for transparency and disclosure. I continue to be one. I have an interest in our fiducial oversight responsibilities, and where the money's coming from is a concern for disclosure. So thank you.
Okay. Teddy, do you want to spend more time on this, or do you want to move to the cash flow statement?
Are there any questions on this other than where the donations are coming from?
Well, Teddy, I also had asked the question whether the $500 discrepancy between the amount of the restricted accounts and the Umpqua restricted bank account had been reconciled. And you said you were going to touch base with, and that's balance sheet, and I apologize for lagging, but you said you were going to contact Nancy to get an answer to that. And I'm wondering if you have.
I did not. I've had other competing priorities, and that just...
Understand. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Hey, Teddy, this is Javier.
Javier,
For
go ahead.
yeah, thank you. For the screen that's up right now, it says that we paid $1,913.40 in rent. Is that for the fiscal year to date?
That's for the fiscal year.
Whoa, that's cheap rent.
Well, we have deferred rent. Keep in mind, we haven't paid rent for quite some time.
Oh, yeah. So it's like summer or...
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions? Okay. All right. If there are no other questions, let's move on.
Okay. Do we need to look at the cash flow? Sam has a motion coming up. And I don't need, Sam, do we need cash flow up to reconsider that motion?
I believe we did.
Okay. All right.
And I think Lee and Teddy need to talk about it first.
All right. So as you, okay, Sam, can you mute, please? So what you're looking at here, it looks different from the previous cash flow in that we have pulled out the small grants and the school committee funds out of the rest of the cash flow so that it's cleaner, and we can focus more on the operating components. Any questions on that to start? Shannon.
Thank you. I have several questions actually. So I see in the summary at the top of the document, you've listed out legal fees, but they don't match the line item below. Can you clarify what's happening and which one's accurate?
I think we need to stop any questioning Shannon may have about legal fees at this point, please.
I'm asking it's a
I think I think you're involved with litigation with the SWNI board, so I don't think we have any.
For Simon Wang for the city's representation. This has nothing to do
Shannon,
with the law.
I don't think it's appropriate for you to be asking anything about Simon Wang's legal fees at this point.
It's not accurate. Are we
Shannon,
paying
Shannon, I don't think you're the person to be asking questions on the legal fees.
Any further questions?
Yes, I have further questions. Are we not paying a Zoom fee any longer?
We are.
It's not listed. Yeah, Zoom is not listed.
Yes, it is.
It is listed.
Well, so I'm asking for March. Are we not going to be continuing it is the question.
It just hasn't been carried out. We have a committed donor for those fees.
So that should be extended there. Okay. And then we continue to push off month by month the 990 fees, and our donations have been continuing to decrease. Are there concerns that we're not going to, and is there a deadline we should be aware of around the 990s being submitted?
We are well aware of the 990s, and we are looking for avenues to get those completed without incurring the large accounting fee related to those. We will be preparing those ourselves since there's no sort of specific requirement that they necessarily go through a CPA for preparation. And since we generally do the prep work ourselves anyway, and then get it sort of reviewed, we will be doing the work as much as we can to minimize those costs.
So is there a deadline that we should be aware of?
There are deadlines, and we're marching towards that, and
Can I ask what the deadline is? Is there a date?
I don't have the date off the top of my head.
May 15th.
Oh, thank you. And who will be preparing these from our volunteer crew and staff? Whose expertise will we be relying on, given that we're not going to be looking at pursuing engaging with a professional?
I volunteer Shannon and Katie.
No.
That's kind of you, Charlie. Who from our volunteers will be working on these, Teddy?
Well, the bookkeeper will be doing a large portion of the work.
And then the expertise comes from?
So even previous 990s have been prepared primarily by much of the work is done internally and by the bookkeeper, and we will all do our best to review it and make sure that everything is.
Okay, who will be signing it then? I guess if there's no one who's going to be, officially on the record for doing them with the expertise, is there anyone we know that will have accountability for the accuracy?
Leslie Hammond said she'll be signing it, so she has full accountability.
Okay, cool. And I have one final question. I'm concerned about the website as a continuing issue. Are there any costs associated that we should be aware of to bring it up to standard? Because if we could know about those ahead of time, that would be very helpful.
Are you still having issues with the website?
Yeah. We do have issues. Have we identified costs for that, Lee?
No, I mean, hopefully we can get it fixed tomorrow and there won't be any cost.
And does that bring it up to the standard that we need for continuation of service with it? Or are there any other further issues that we should be aware of and be planning for from a budgetary position?
Well,
websites, I mean, let's keep going on. Let's stick with the why.
This is financials. This is in financials.
Right. But I don't, the answer is for
I don't
now,
know.
Shannon, we have no information that there's going to be cost associated with that. If it arises, we'll have to, have to look at it as a cost, a potential cost going forward. It's not there now.
Well, Shannon, are you very good with websites? Because that might be helpful if you want to volunteer your time to help.
I don't have any expertise in the complexity of the SWNI website. It seems like we have a dedicated volunteer. I was just seeking if there were any costs associated as
So Shannon, you're not volunteering for anything?
Oh, I volunteer for quite a lot. But
nothing with this.
I don't have any expertise with the back end of the SWNI website.
Seems
I'm
like you
looking at the
ask a lot
financial.
through your own content. It seems like you're asking a lot that puts us vulnerable and puts you in a position to exploit our lack of content or availability.
I don't know the question. I'm trying to anticipate.
Okay, excuse me. Okay, I think we've answered Shannon's question. There's
Thank
no
you.
cost that we know about. If the one that comes up, it'll be on the balance or the cash flow sheet going forward. There's none anticipated at the moment. Okay, so we need to make sure we understand the situation with respect to the bookkeeper's hours going forward, Teddy.
Right. Okay. Are you referring to with regards to the 990s, or you just
No. That's a second issue. No, this is for office
right?
time.
So the bookkeeper's hours, it still sits there based on 10 hours a week. Right. So and as we discussed last week, I think the vote was given to allow Leslie to bump that to additional 10 hours a week if the funding was there to support that.
Yeah, the board okayed her hours for February, but Sam is going to have a motion when we're done reviewing this for hours to pay for hours in March. Yes.
Okay. All right. So as it looks today, the end balance in the account will be, well, not today, but end of February, the end balance in the account will be approximately 14,800. And we continue to receive donations. Yes, the level of donations appears to be decreasing when compared to January, but we continue to receive donations. And again, just to reiterate, the default policy is that donations are private unless otherwise requested by the donor.
Okay. And so just to note, though,
It looks like we got a few questions. We'll go Katie, Don, and then Mike.
Me first? Okay. Well, I see the $3,061 in vacation payout, and I'm assuming this is the error and it flowed into the QuickBooks, and I'm assuming that'll get taken care of, but we can see that that's where it's from. So the follow-up question to that is Nancy accruing vacation payable? No. Okay, good. You anticipated my question, so I'll move on to the next one. Sam, could you go ahead and mute yourself so we don't have that kickback? Thank you. The next question is that I had asked you whether the deferred payment of rent of $1,196 had been moved since it's due March 1st into April. So my follow-up question is, isn't that the board decision to decide whether or not to honor the agreement that we had with the city to pay rent at March 1st, the deferred rent amount? I don't know, it's kind of rhetorical. So is the board going to make a decision to appeal to the city to defer that rent to justify moving it from March to the April column?
Steve, is that in the bylaws? That I don't think it's a board decision.
I can't answer that, Sam.
I believe it was Don's original motion that deferred the rent.
Yeah, the question. Go ahead, Sam.
Okay. On a day-to-day basis, it's up to the president, according to our rules and regulations, to handle the day-to-day things going on and to report to the board those things that have gone on. This is a report, as Leslie has placed earlier on, that was read, that we have sent a notice to the city that we were not paying the rent on March 1st, but we wish to sit down with them and discuss the future and how we were going to handle that.
Thank you. That answers my question. The next question I have is the 2290 of legal audit. The answer I got was that Simon was written a check in November, but the bank decided to return the check in January. This doesn't comport with my understanding of how banks process checks, but I'm curious to get an explanation as to whether maybe Mr. Wong wrote a check back to SWNI for 2290 that allowed us to show that as a positive.
No, so when the check was written to Simon, you're right, it doesn't conform to our understanding of how banking works either, but it turns out that Umpqua did deduct that from SWNI's account, despite the fact that the check wasn't cashed by Simon. When we discovered that, we went back to Umpqua and told them, fix this, one, that the check was not going to be cashed. So they corrected that, and that money was placed back into our account, which is why you see a positive here.
Wow, that's amazing. A bank taking money out of your account without a check to, yeah, wow, I'm amazed. Okay, so the next question is about the PPP, and I'm kind of moving down in a linear fashion. In October of 2020, I raised questions as to why the amount associated with the 990 tax preparation had increased from 3,000 to 4,500. And I was told at that time that the 1,500 was to allow for the bookkeeper fee. Now it is growing from 4,500 to 6,000 to allow for a bookkeeper fee.
So the 2,990 is covered by that fee.
So
go ahead, Teddy.
Nancy is going to receive $3,000 for 2 years of
no.
So where did the additional 1,500 that was added on to 1,400 come? Because it already had her fee.
Okay, I'm trying to.
That's why I'm confused.
I'm trying to answer here.
Okay.
So the 2,990s covered by that. There's the one. And both of those we're suspecting will combine will be somewhere in the neighborhood of 4,500 if we use the CPAs, plus an additional 1,500 for Nancy's time to prep and do all the things she does to get that to happen.
But that's the $1,500 that's in the April column is the 1,500 for Nancy.
Right. So whether we use a CPA or not, that 1,500 is going to have to happen. Nancy's work on those will happen. The question is, right now, we're doing all we can to not have to use a CPA and not go that route, which would save us the $4,500 that it would cost to go through an accountant to get.
Yes, and that's good. That's great. More money we can save, the better. And in the past, we have contracted with, I believe, Charlie. And my understanding is that Charlie will not be assisting in this process either as a professional or a volunteer. Is that correct?
Oh, first of all, I only prepared the return last year. And I really didn't want to do it, but the board voted to approve my bid. And so I did it.
Yeah,
and
I remember.
I want to have nothing to do with you people who make false accusations about the propriety of the financial condition of this entity.
Okay. My next question was, the footnotes have a reference, and this statement assumes that 8183. I could track the 583 and the 1,000 insurance deductible, but I couldn't find the 8183 anywhere on this document.
So the 8183 has been moved to the bottom. That's the that's the small grants balance.
Where?
So 8183 plus. So nothing. Okay, so small grants plus the school committee's fund make up the chart below. What's left?
I see that. That made all sense, but I didn't see the 8183. I still don't. Maybe I'm blind.
So 8183 is the balance. So you have to, the beginning balance, which is a sum of the balance of the small grants, 8183, and the school committee's funds, 583. That combined gives you 8776.
Oh, I see. We're missing a column. Okay. That explains it. I get it. And then the final question, since you were the chair of the PPP committee, and you said that the application would be made in March, what happened to the application that was filed in August 2020? The application for forgiveness?
That's another umpquat issue in which we filed with the forms that we were informed that we needed to file, and there was a change in their not necessarily policy, but procedures to file for forgiveness, and we were not informed. But we are we're going through and submitting their the new form, and that opens. That's in March, so we're doing that.
Oh, okay. So they did not acknowledge or recognize or validate.
They did.
They did? Okay.
They did.
And now they've just changed their minds?
No. What happens in many large organizations or whether banking institutions, you've got different departments that don't necessarily speak to one another, right? The department that is fully responsible for submitting the forgiveness applications or that process is different from which we were not fully aware of from the people we've been working with and going through to ensure. And in short, we found some new information and we have to refile. It doesn't put us at any risk of owing the money. We're still within the sort of SBA policy. It's just frustrating that we have to go through this process again.
Yeah, understood. So we are still within the parameters of what the SBA is going to forgive, but we have fallen off the turnip truck of the Umpqua bank requirements, and our August application is not recognized as the one we need to make. Okay, I think I understand.
It's not necessarily entirely MQuad's fault. This is a sort of a moving target with regards to the SBA also.
All right.
I'm sure the change of administration does not help that target stand any still, make it any
Well,
less.
I appreciate you taking the time to answer all my questions, and I'm sorry I wasn't able to follow up ahead of time, but I tried to put them all down, and no disrespect at all. Thank you.
Hey, yes, there's one thing I want to point out on this sheet. Can you page down just a little bit there? Okay. I'm sorry, page, yeah, the other direction. Okay. We are going to ask you for to okay 10 hours a week for Nancy in March. Okay, that's the next motion that's coming up after we're out of here. And the point I want to make is that we're still above water considering recent donations. We will still have available funds in the operations account to the tune of, what do I see, $3,352 after we pay that her wages for that bookkeeping in March. Okay. It's time for your motion, Sam.
Hey, Steve, it's Javier. I had one quick question about the SAIF insurance. For Teddy. Is that the insurance that everybody's concerned with that protects us board members at the neighborhood association level and SWNI board level? Is that how much that payment is? It's about $532.
That's workers' comp.
Oh, okay.
That's a different insurance policy. And that is paid up through June, through the end of June.
Okay.
So Steve, this is Don Bach. Quick question. Is there a possibility of deferring the 990s? And if so, is there a fee associated with that?
Anybody, you financial experts want to chime in on that?
There's a non-filing penalty. I'm not sure what it is off the top of my head.
Thank you. Second comment. I frequently have had checks.
Sam, you need to mute.
Thank you. I frequently have had checks that did not clear. After 3 months, the bank puts the money back. That's a pretty routine thing with most banks, I believe. If they write a check and it doesn't clear, they put it back.
So our check didn't clear?
No.
Usually they don't even take the money out until.
Well, I deal with Schwab Bank. They write the check, they send it. If it doesn't clear, they put the money back after 90 days.
Got it. You're talking about counter checks then, or when the bank writes the check.
Internet checks.
Yeah.
Okay. Are we done with the cash flow?
I think we're done with the financials unless there are any other questions on it.
Okay. Now, Sam, you're on. Sam, you're still muted.
Unmute.
And Lee, could you take down the projection?
Okay, the motion would be to continue employment for Nancy Biskey at 10 hours per week in March. And if donations come in, her employment could be enlarged by a few hours per week if necessary.
No more than 20 hours per week.
Second.
Okay, discussion. Sam, do you want to say anything about that beyond just making the motion? Okay. Discussion. Okay. All right, let's vote then. Blue hands, please.
So this is in favor.
This is in
Of-
favor of, do you have a motion you can read for us, Janet?
Yeah, let me read that. Sam moved that we approve 10 hours per week for March for bookkeepers' hours that could be enlarged by a few hours up to 20 hours per week. Don Bach seconded.
Okay, any more hands to vote?
Yes,
there?
hang on just a sec. Yeah, sorry. Just reading and didn't get my hand up.
Oh. Okay, want to count them, Janet?
Count 14.
Add one more for Gary Rundy. My hand function thing, I don't have it on my.
Okay.
Okay.
Sorry, 15, I just raised my hand.
Oh, 15. Okay, thank you. So that would be 16 then with Gary.
Thanks.
Okay, Lee, let's take the hands down. I'll start from the bottom. Oh, you do it fine. Okay, all opposed, raise your blue hand now.
Two so far. Only seeing two.
Okay, anybody else want to vote against this motion? Okay, motion carries.
Oh, any abstentions?
No abstentions. Yes, indeed.
Diane Victoria is abstaining.
Mike Linman,
Mike,
Javier.
Javier. And I think just those three. Anyone else abstaining other than Diane Victoria, Mike Linman, or Javier Moncada? Okay. Motion passes.
Point of order, Janet, are you keeping track of all the people that have dropped off? I've noticed we've gone from like 60 to 34.
Yeah, it's going to be reflected. In the
We're
minutes.
dwindling, okay.
Yeah,
But we still have a quorum, do
we
we?
still have a quorum. Yes, we still have a quorum.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to committee reports. Okay, we're running quite a bit behind time, so I'm going to ask for committee reports to be brief, but they're important. Okay, first I'm going to step in and read. This is the committee report from the Public Safety Committee, since Kim Silverman is excused this evening. She says, pandemic nearly 1 year in, historically, the SWNI Public Safety Committee has focused on sharing public safety information and updates about neighborhoods, supporting traffic vigils, expanding neighborhood watch programs. We also host a spring and fall community event at the Multnomah Arts Center, the last of which was March 8th, 2020, Emergency Preparedness Fair. Shortly thereafter, life as we knew it changed, with children attending school at home, officer time dedicated to safety details, and ongoing protests and riots and in-person events being impossible. The ongoing COVID-19 panic required the Public Safety Committee reassess its action plan. This Public Safety Committee continued with monthly meetings without the time-consuming efforts required for event planning. It freed up event time or meeting time to focus on educational opportunities as we hosted guest speakers in Zoom meetings. The Rules of the Road, a legal clinic for bicyclists, transit riders, and pedestrians was a big hit, as was the presentation by firefighter paramedics Dasha Graber and Matt Loss, who spoke about fire safety and what to do during winter emergencies. Other presentations have focused on community advocacy surrounding public safety issues, the Portland Police Bureau's Training Advisory Council's primer on public safety, support specialist PS3 program, and a check-in with Civic Life's community safety coordinators about outreach efforts. The next SWNI public safety meeting will be Thursday, March 4th, 2021 at 7 p.m. We are pleased to host Juliet Moracholi as our guest speaker. Juliet is the graffiti program coordinator at the city's Office of Community and Civic Life, and she will discuss graffiti abatements efforts in Portland. So that's Kim's
Steve?
report. Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm on the safety committee, and I just could I just make a
Sure.
a pledge for or a plug for the graffiti abatement. If you can communicate with your neighborhood associations to join that meeting, I think it'd be beneficial because graffiti is a big problem. So it's going to be a presentation on what we can do. So thank you.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. Anybody here from transportation to give us a report?
Mary Ann's here. I have a report. I'll be brief. So Catherine is on vacation this week, and she just asked me to note, since I was previous transportation chair over the last 10 years, we've received a lot of success in working as a coalition toward advocating for important projects. We funded the soon-to-be constructed Capitol Highway project between Multnomah and West Portland. There's been a number of improvements made in the last few years on Beaverton Hillsdale Highway, a high crash corridor. And we did receive funding for sidewalks on Sunset, Vermont, Huber, Multnomah Boulevard, and Spring Garden. So we want to continue to collaborate with PBOT. And we had Vision Zero staff at our meeting last week to talk about automated safety enforcement, known as speed and red light cameras. And so we got had some good dialogue with staff about that. And we looked a bit at the projects in the PBOT budget and whether the projects that PBOT thinks are best for us are what we think are best for us to improve safety in Southwest. So we'll be coming back next month with, or I don't know, we might be coming back next month with comments on the budget. And that's, I'll leave it there.
Okay, thank you, Mary Ann. Mike, you have a parks report? Mike Lindman, are you on?
Yeah, sorry. We have spent a lot of time in the fall supporting the Parks Levy. We were part of the Friends and Allies Summit. We were also hosted house parties to help the Parks Foundation, which was helping run the levy, and we had folks out supporting the levy, which passed, which is going to make our parks a much better place going forward. We supported the renewal of the Native American Parks fee waiver request sponsored by the by the SWNI Equity Committee. Like I said, we drafted a lot of support for the Parks Levy. Sorry, said that again. We've been meeting with PP&R staff on maintenance, stewardship, and advocacy during the pandemic and how it is that we can best volunteer. And we've been pushing them for more ways in which volunteers can actually get out into the field. We have been getting some good updates. At the beginning of March, they very soon, kind of by mid-March, they're going to start work on the new playground at Gabriel Park. So that should hopefully be done, I think, by the fall. Should be great. And then we've been just the convener of concerns from all of the neighborhoods on any issues they've had in their local parks. And I'll just leave it at that.
Comments, questions for Mike?
Yeah, I have a question. When is that going to start with Gabriel Park?
Let me pull up the right document. It's March. It's by March 15th, but I think it's from the 8th to the 15th is when I guess they're doing some of the planning. So they didn't have the exact specific date yet, but it will be this next month that they're hopefully breaking ground, and that it should be done. The estimate right now is the fall. I don't have a specific date yet because I don't think they do, considering the technical difficulties with the area where the new playground is going in, considering to make it ADA accessible, which is one of the main keys of what they're doing, there's some grading issues. And so there's a lot of geotechnical engineering that has to happen, which a lot of that has already happened, but until you actually dig into the ground, you don't know what else is going to happen. So.
Thank you.
Okay. Maria, you have a question?
Yeah, I have a question regarding the proposal to allow homeless camps in parks, trails, and open spaces.
Yes, that has been brought to my attention. I just heard about it in the last couple days here. We have been that is something that I've had multiple members from the committee bring up to me, and will be part of the discussion next week. And I think that we need to bring in and have a
help
committee
on that,
with
Mike. With
a committee with land use to really kind of have a discussion about whether or not we want to take a position as committees on what that is. But I have seen the letter. Yes.
Okay. All right. Yeah, Mike, I'd like to make that as part of my prep tonight.
Okay.
Okay, we'll pick that up again when it's land use's turn. Any more questions for Mike? I see. Okay. Nobody's.
Mike, as you consider that proposal that we just mentioned, I'm hoping you will involve the equity committee as well.
I'm happy to. Any input that the equity committee has and would always be welcome. Like I said, I just learned about this issue like literally within the last 24 hours.
Okay. Yeah,
so it's all new to me.
Yeah, we've been tracking this. This has been in my monthly reports that we've never, committees haven't talked to the SWNI board for months now for all other reasons. And that's one of my rubs about this whole thing, Maria, is this is why it came to you. I mean, this has been duly noted. It's in the reports. It's in our, SWNI committee write-ups. So I'm glad that we're finally getting a little bit of airtime tonight to talk about this.
Okay. Claire Carter.
Yeah, thanks. I would also request that the watershed chair is also part of that discussion about this particular proposal, because I can see that there is potentially some pretty serious environmental impacts associated with the proposal. And I would really like to make sure that all aspects are discussed and explored fully. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, let's move on into land use, Gary.
Okay, I'm gonna try and share my screen. And okay, can you guys see this?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, that's fine. Howdy do. So share. Okay, can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, so let me just, all right. I'm having a little trouble scrolling here. Yes.
I'm doing it, Gary.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I was asked that at this committee, we'd recap what we did. So there's the 5 bullet items that show where we went and what we were talking about at our land use committee meetings for the entire year. And because of time constraints, I'd like to just limit my quick update to the West Portland Town Center. And so just scroll down, Lee, till you hit that. There it is. So we've held formal meetings. Matter of fact, it was only 2 meetings back that we had a formal West Portland Town Center project update. We do have general acceptance from the committee reps, from the neighborhoods. We've had Javier on our is president of an association on that citizen advisory committee. And you scroll a little more, Lee. So, the first the first concerns were over the project's ability to get PBOT and BES to, address a lot of runoff as we get a huge amount of increased paved surfacing with a new Portland Town Center. Everybody was understanding and very supportive of the low income housing and affordable housing efforts by the Southwest Corridor Equitable Housing Committee, because every time we met to discuss this, we also included a full update on the light rail, and because the whole thing went hand in hand. I personally attended all of the local community engagement meetings and followed up with the online ones. And our minority community up here along the Capitol Highway corridor, they are pumped about this and are really looking for it to become their home, a true home. And so they really are looking for some open space within that core. But then last but not least, and I know Catherine's brought this up on the Transportation Committee, is, there's a major traffic arteries cutting through there. And over in the Hollywood district of Sandy Boulevard, people are kind of referring to it as the Canyon Lands now, because cars just whip up and down Sandy Boulevard, even though they're at the base of it by near Interstate 84. There's a very definite attempt to build a neighborhood center. So we reminded the project manager of that. And I think the answer to all it is there's going to have to be traffic speeds are going to have to be slowed down to 10 to 15 mile an hour inside the entire new footprint for this town center to make it truly safe and make it truly walkable. But happy to have more discussions with the board down the road on this. I'd like to reserve the rest of my time to just go straight down to shelter to housing continuum. Okay, and bring it all the way down, Lee. Just keep going. Okay, back up just a little. Okay, so here, let's stop right here. Okay, so we all know this, if the city doesn't do anything, they have, by April 1st, they have to sign up for another 180 days of emergency situation, where they suspend all of their ordinances, and you just use these emergency housing codes that were meant for earthquakes, floods, and fires. So we know none of that is appropriate for our houseless situation here in Portland. And we know our houseless situation is going to take years to resolve. So we agree with the city. They have to do this big rewrite of their ordinances. And in doing so, they're going to address this with, the first line of defense, outdoor shelters. And I put this down here to remind everybody, there is a lot of code that they're making effort for these outdoor shelters. And I point out private lots versus the city-owned parks and open spaces. For us, when we discussed this at our land use committee meeting, and it took up almost all the time at our last two committee meetings, I kept reminding the members, we have to show our better angels and a ton of compassion here, because this is an issue you don't take lightly. And so we looked at, well, if we were passionate about not getting into the city-owned parks and open spaces, can we find or be part of a solution that finds private lots? Because private lots you can put the outdoor shelters on private lots with all of the city rules and ordinances. All right. So keep scrolling down. You see temporary indoor shelters, mass indoor shelters. Then they come to the tiny homes, the cottage clusters. Kenton Village, they have one. And if our land use committee members are little, there's pushback here on this idea of tiny homes on wheels, RV and campers in driveways throughout single family residential zones and calling them a substituted ADU. And again, the opposite side of that pushback is, can we as a community find a lot or location where a tiny home clusters village could be put together. All right. And then last but not least, it migrates all the way to group living homes. None of these homes will be more than 3,500 square feet in size, and they have to be downsized based on, you know, some of the smaller lots. And then it goes right through to congregate living, dorm-like settings that are only allowed in our corridors alongside our multi-use zoned areas. So my point here is, if we're going to be passionate in some areas about this shelter to housing continuum as a whole, we need to try and look at something directly adjacent and say, we can get on board with trying to help you out, like finding a place for a tiny home village and finding a lot somewhere that we could say, if it came to it, that you needed an outdoor camp, you know, as a first line of shelter across the SWNI, let's be proactive and find a lot and as our formal, you know, pushback against the use of the parks and the open spaces. So a lot to say here. If we would have discussed this as it was on my notes for the last 3 SWNI board meetings, it wouldn't come to this. So but we're here, and that's where we stand on this. We've had the project manager online with us. We've gone over all this stuff in detail. So we've known about this, and it's been in my committee minutes or notes to you guys for months now. All right. Can people embrace some of these counter offers to the areas where currently SWNI neighborhood associations are finding pain?
Yeah. Okay. So this needs more discussion than we can give it tonight. Okay.
Right. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And as you point out, this is not a brand new problem. Okay. Now, so there's Janet, do you want to introduce a motion here? Okay, there's a motion coming to take this to a joint committee of parks and land use. Perhaps it's advisable to expand that to other committees. It sounds like Mike Lindman is going to have a really full meeting when he meets on March 4th. Janet,
I think we should. I think we have to add equity and watershed to that as well.
Yeah, watershed, equity and inclusion, land use, and parks to form a joint subcommittee.
Okay, that's a motion, Janet?
Yes, joint subcommittee to look at the issues of houselessness.
Hey, can you add schools in there?
Transportation too.
Yeah, I was going to say add transportation. I have similar questions about the West Portland Town Center.
Great.
Sorry, Marianne, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry.
Okay, and is there a particular time? Is there a time that is crucial that be resolved?
I think Sam seconded this motion, so
yes.
I think we've got Sam second. Okay.
Yes.
And who moved? Was that?
You did.
I did. Okay, great. Thank you. Sorry,
okay.
Getting late.
Yeah,
Steve, this is Rita. You asked about the deadline, and it's March 17th.
That's when, what's going to happen on March 17th, Marita?
That's when the presentation is going to be made to City Council. They're going to decide on the proposal.
Okay, so
we have until March 17th to submit testimony.
If SWNI as a board is going to chime in, we will need to do it by March 17th. So that means that resolution will need to be recommended by that group of committees and presented to a board meeting. And I assume that's going to mean a special board meeting, which you don't have currently scheduled prior to March 17th.
And this is just shelter to housing, correct?
The immediate need is shelter to housing continuum because of the city council deadline. There should be a similar subsequent conversation about the West Portland Town Center before that goes to the Planning and Sustainability Commission this spring.
Yep. And I want to thank you all for the constructive feedback and the collaboration. This is exactly, you know, the board right now is doing exactly what I feel it should do. And I want to thank you guys for this.
Okay, thank you.
Gary?
Don, I see your hand up.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, Gary. Excellent report. Just a note that the Multnomah County has a opening for grant requests for some funds they have available for some of this kind of thing. If you've got something in mind specifically that could fit within their time frame.
I'd say that might be a stretch, but I'm certainly going to be pushing my colleagues on this tonight here, or ones in the future, to look at two of these alternatives where we show red, you know, at SWNI.
Just to add on, I've got 2 sites that I'd like to talk with you about.
Okay, all right.
Okay, Mike Lindman.
Yes, my only question is to the other, to the other committees. If we're going to try to have a kind of basically a special meeting to do this, I'm now looking at the meeting schedule that I think it was Janet who put out, which is really, really helpful. And between now and then, like, we're SWNI Parks and Public Safety meet next Thursday, but the rest of y'all meet almost like either right before or just after the deadline. Do we all want to just basically try to jump into the parks meeting next Thursday? Like, I'm just trying to figure out a time. I don't know if that works for everybody, because it didn't seem to conflict that night with any of the neighborhood associations themselves.
I can whip my land use team into joining, Mike. Thanks for that. How some of the other chairs feel?
Yeah, it would work for schools.
Schools is
Yeah,
good.
Patty
Equity
with
and
Watershed
inclusion.
Murphy had to leave the meeting, so we'll need to communicate with Murphy as well for Watershed.
Okay.
What about equity, Diane? Is Diane Victoria still on the call?
No.
Okay, someone will need to reach out to her.
Okay. But I mean, if everybody at least is interested in that date, or if we think that that's gives us the time to actually discuss it, like maybe that's what we shoot for at the moment.
That's a starting point.
Yeah. Yeah. This.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay.
Steve, can we do a quick roll call on this vote? Because we've had so many people leave. I want to make sure that we get this accurate.
You want to do hands or roll call, Janet?
Can I just do a quick roll call? I think it'll be
Okay, go
go
ahead.
fairly quickly. So this is the motion to form the joint subcommittee. Steve Molinex.
I'm not voting.
Sam, I think you need to mute again. Unless you want to vote.
Vote yes.
Yes. And Steve, oh, excuse me, you're chairing.
I'm chairing.
And I think Sam, I think, yeah, thanks. Teddy O, is Teddy on the call still?
Abstain.
Okay. Myself, I'm a yes. Katie Daly
Yes.
and Bruce Kester,
Yes.
Richard Freimark. Richard was on the call. Okay, I'll just come back. Fran Laird.
He's gone.
Okay, Fran Laird.
Yes, I just wonder if the safety committee should also be included in the motion. Sorry.
I think we could invite everybody and then they could formalize how they want to put that together. Tony Hansen.
Yes.
And Marita Inglesby.
Yes.
Tatiana is still on the call. Saw her. Okay. Claire Carter.
Yes.
And Mike Charles.
Yes.
Maria Timai.
Yes.
Shannon Hiller Webb.
Abstain.
Anna Friedhoff. I think Anna was on her phone.
I'm here. Yes.
Thank you. And Charlie Van Rossen.
Yes.
Okay. Javier Moncada.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
And Diane Victoria, I think, left. Gary Rundy
Yes.
and Mike Lindman,
Yes.
Patty McMahon,
Yes.
and I think Don Bach is the remaining person.
Yes.
Yes, okay.
Richard Freimark
17 yes.
votes yes.
Oh, Richard, thank you. I think we have 18 yeses and 2 abstentions.
Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, equity and inclusion. Diane Victoria, are you still here to make that report?
I don't think she's.
Schools.
Just a second. I just wanted to just say something in terms of equity and inclusion. The work plan for equity and inclusion for the current fiscal year is in the board packet. And I think equity and inclusion will be coming to the March meeting to look for an approval on that work plan.
Okay, so everybody go to your board folder and read that, please. Schools.
Just quickly, Portland Public Schools has done some opening up of the schools, kind of a hybrid, but anyway, it's still kind of in flux. And so if anybody needs really information, they have to go to the website and get that good update. One of the things that has happened though is schools really have moved to the community, and a lot of the issues aren't so much educational, but there are all the support services going around that, like mentors at home, food, homelessness, all of the, I guess I call it social issues. So to support families and students, PPS has increased the number of the counselors and social workers that they have available. They've also contracted with mental health providers. They have also developed an application app, a phone app. It's called the Youth app, where if anyone or students, it's a quick reference access for emotional wellness resources and support at a click of the button. Emotional health is a huge issue right now, really for all of the kids. And that's what we've been talking about with our community-based organizations and the schools. And kind of on that line, we have the Code Squad hoping to run that program spring break. And one of the aspects of it will be online. And so we'll do some breakout rooms because we need the kids to have that social interaction. They're just not getting it right now. And then on the line of Code Squad, the program is Google Scratch, and we don't have an instructor for that. So if any of you know anyone that is, proficient, could be interested in teaching that course through spring break, please let me know. Take any help we can. I think that's it.
Thank you, Patty. And is Murphy around for Watershed, or anybody to speak for Watershed?
Patty, did you mention Wilson High School got renamed to Ida Wells?
Oh, I didn't, but yes, it has. It's officially the Ida B. Wells. I've seen it both ways. Wilson doesn't add on the hyphen, Barrett, but then other places I've seen it. But yes, thanks, Teddy.
And Madison is now the Otis McDaniel High School, named for a well-loved Black principal that died about 1990.
Oh, interesting.
That was Javier, by the way, that brought up about Ida Wells.
Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Javier.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Patty, I can forward along the principal of Ida B. Wells sent out communication as far as how they are using both the hyphenated name and when to use it and when they're not going to use it. So I can forward that along.
Oh, thanks, Sandy.
Sure.
And I think it's
Okay.
official at Portland Public School, but hasn't been official by the Oregon Department of Education, but I'm sure they'll pass it.
Correct.
Okay,
Again, this is-
anybody from Watershed? Okay, done with committee reports then. And next up.
Steve, for
Yeah.
the good of the order, I move that since we're already an hour over our scheduled time, that we table the remainder of the agenda, including the two motions under new business, mine on a no confidence vote for the financial information, and Charlie's on the if you
Withdrawal from neighborhood associations.
Yeah, whatever it was, the pulled your money out of SWNI, you need to be off of the SWNI board. I move that we table it in an interest of equity for those people that need to get up in the morning and deal with their jobs.
This is Javier. I'll second it.
Great.
Okay.
Move we adjourn.
I would like to, Janet, are you okay with that to skip by the minutes?
It's going to be this lovely, long, grueling approval. We should probably have a special meeting to approve minutes.
So I have no difficulty with adjourning, and I'm not even going to take a vote. I'm just going to tell you that there are two quick announcements. Actually, a quick announcement is that there will be the business associations will be approved and recognized in the March meeting. Do not forget, that's on our calendar. Okay. Marianne, you're okay. I'm sorry that there really isn't time to talk about the budget process. Is there any
the main thing to know is that the March meeting is the meeting where if SWNI is going to take any position on any budget, whether it be civic life, parks, transportation, land use, planning, anything, it needs to be presented to the March meeting to be time certain and to be effective.
What day is that?
That's it.
What's the date of that meeting?
Oh, March 23rd. March 24th, 2021. So all the committees that are meeting between now and March 24th, if they want to have comments, so this is in your packet, so you can read this document in the board packet. But because there's public listening sessions that begin March 29th, it would be most effective if any individual or any neighborhood or any committee have any comments to bring it in March.
Okay, thank you, Marianne. Okay, now there's a motion to adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries. The meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Good job.
Thank you.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you